welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video, and welcome to a video where I talk all about books I'm currently obsessed with. I've seen Jess from Peace Love Books do this video quite often, and I really just wanted to get back into doing sit-down videos. It's been a little while since I've sat down and done a video that wasn't, for my book club or something along those lines. I've just been out of practice for sit-down videos, so I figured what's better than talking about books that I'm currently so obsessed with and just something that's going to make me very happy. So that's what we're gonna do today. The last time I did this video was about 6 months ago, so I'm feeling like it's now a good time to collect a couple of books and talk about ones that I just love so much, and I'm hoping that if you have already read them, you also love them, but if you haven't, you'll get some really good recommendations today. Before I get into it, the dogs are doing the most today, so if you hear them barking, I'm so sorry, I can't control that. Also, I am sick and my husband is sick, so if you hear any sniffles or anything like that, I apologize just all around for the weird sounds that are going to come in this video, but it's currently out of my control. So I have 3 stacks of books here. 2 of them are from last year that are still sticking with me and I think about at least once a week, so I feel like they had to be included, and then some of the ones that I read from this year that I have absolutely loved and cannot stop thinking about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. I want to start off with the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang. I read the first book much further back last year, so I wanted to talk about these 2 because I haven't yet talked about them in videos where I'm obsessed with them, because I literally am. I love them so much. We have King of Pride, which is the 2nd book, and King of Greed, which is the 3rd book, and I loved both of these so much. I think if I had to choose between all 3, King of Pride would be my favorite, but something about Dom does something for me. So King of Pride is a secret relationship, kind of taboo, absolutely undeniable attraction between Kai and Isabella, and you really see the Valhalla Club, which has been talked about in both the Twisted series and the Kings of Sin series so much, but this one really takes place at the Valhalla Club and I really enjoyed that. I love Kai as a person, as a book boyfriend, as everything. He's literally one of the best book boyfriends I've ever read, and I love Kai so much, and the relationship between him and Isabella was just so freaking amazing. It's giving forbidden, it's giving taboo, it's giving undeniable attraction, and I loved it so much. I cannot wait to do a reread. And then of course we have King of Greed by Anna Huang, the 3rd book. This one follows Dominic Russo and Alessandra, and they have been married for quite some time. You've seen them over the course of this series and how their marriage is not doing very well, and after 10 years Alessandra has planned this elaborate 10-year anniversary vacation, and Dominic misses it, and Alessandra is like, I'm done, I can't do it anymore, I want a divorce. And it is the relationship between the 2 of them and Dominic groveling his way back into Alessandra's good graces, and it's just so good. It's angsty, it's cute, it's hot, it's spicy. It was wonderful. I love their relationship so much, and I'm so glad that I read this one. King of Sloth is one of my most anticipated romance releases of the year, so I'm very excited to get to that one, but I do want to go back and reread all the books in the series because I love her writing so much. In my last video where I talked about books that I'm absolutely obsessed with, I talked about the Chestnut Spring series, and after that video came out, the last and final book in that series did grace us with its presence, and of course I had to talk about Hopeless by Miss Elsie Silver. I loved this book so much, and I know for a lot of people this was not a fave, but I loved it. I love a good broody, tortured hero, fake dating between these 2 characters that shouldn't work well together but absolutely do. Bo and Bailey are just the total outcast. People are looking at them so differently, but especially Bailey. She is literally the town outcast. Nobody likes her. Everyone is constantly making fun of her and thinking bad about her because her family is kind of shitty, but she is just willing to put up with everybody's shit in order to live a somewhat peaceful life. But then Bo comes in, is unwilling for anybody to talk bad about her. He is going into the ends of the earth to protect her, not only from himself but also from the people around him, and I just love their relationship so much. I love a good fake dating story, and this one did everything that it was supposed to do. We have to talk about it, right? Everybody and their mother is talking about it right now, and that is of course Butcher and Blackbird by Brandon Weaver. I love this book. I love this book so much, and it really did the damn thing. It took the internet by storm. I feel like literally even people that weren't even reading dark romance were like, I have to read this, and this is pretty dark. Don't get me wrong. It's dark. It's not the darkest I've ever read, but when you think about the context of this story, it's dark, but I freaking loved it. This book follows Sloane and Rowan. They are 2 serial killers that meet under very interesting circumstances, but then they come together once a year to play this game where they hunt down other serial killers and kill them. In that time, they become really, really good friends, which then leads to a very, very beautiful, swoony, slow burn romance that I just loved. So you have a serial killer romance, you have this sweet, cinnamon bun male main character that literally is unhinged, but will do any and everything for his woman, and I love it so much. This book has such an interesting quality to it. It's very dark, it's very interesting, it's very gruesome, but it's also hilarious and very well written. The spice level in here is not very high, but somehow when we got to the end, it didn't feel like it was lacking anything in what I was looking for in the story. The romance was there, the plot was there, everything was there, and I loved every single second of it. I'm literally so excited for Leather and Lark when it comes out later this year, and I'm chomping at the bit. I think it comes out maybe next month, but literally when it comes out, don't talk to me because I will be reading it. Again, another author that I brought up quite a bit in my last video that I did like this was, of course, Kate Stewart, and I absolutely loved the original Ravenhood trilogy. I have since reread it and loved it so much, but after I did my reread, I of course picked up her newest release in the same world, and that is One Last Rainy Day, and this book is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's absolutely gut-wrenching and sad and utterly devastating, but also so beautiful and so well written and so incredibly hopeful in a way that I never really expected. Did it break me into 1,000 pieces? Yes. But did it also put me back together a little bit? Yes. And I don't quite know how she did it. We are all still convinced that Kate Stewart needs to pay our therapy bill because at this point, the therapy that is needed for the books that I have read by her is insane. But I just love and adore these characters so much. And I think we really needed this story that gave us a lot of context and insight on the story that we didn't really get in the Ravenhood trilogy. Please do not read this before you read the Ravenhood trilogy. Extreme huge spoilers for the series as a whole. This is a spin-off, so if you're going to read anything by her in this world, start with the Ravenhood series first, but this one is just so good. It holds a special place in my heart, and I've literally thought about it at least once a week since I read it. I have another author here that's going to come up again in just a little bit, but I had to talk about the last and final book in this series, and a series that has brought me so much joy, and I'm so sad it's come to an end, but I loved the last book so much, and that is Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score, the last and final book in the Knock 'Em Out series. I loved it. I loved it. We finally got Lucy's story, and it was just everything that I needed and everything that I wanted. This one follows another Sloane and Lucian, and they had a very interesting friendship growing up as teenagers. They were very, very close, but things definitely hit the rails, and their relationship fell off, and they have hated each other ever since. And now Lucian is back in town for a funeral that involves Sloane's family, and they have an undeniable connection that is finally coming to a head, and their story is getting its final ending. And oh, I loved it so much. It was so beautiful. It was so worth waiting for. I loved it so freaking much, and I'm literally so glad that Lucy Score has written this series and brought it to an end that felt so satisfying and so well done that I literally cannot wait to pick them all back up again and experience them once again. Per usual, this book was filled with things that made me cry, things that made me laugh, things that literally had me on the edge of my seat waiting to see how things were going to play out, and I loved it so much. Thank you to Lucy Score for writing this series. I'm so sad that it's over, but I'm glad that I have the memories. Another repeat author from my last video, and that's of course just because I can't stop talking about her, and that is Desper Veil by Daphne Perry, the 4th book? Don't take the numbers from me. At this point, the novellas have all made me confused. I don't know what number it is, but I loved Desper Veil. This book is aptly following Desper Veil and Eloise Eden. Eloise runs the hotel or the inn that is very much known in this town. Eloise Inn, which is the name of the inn, is very much the heart of Quincy, and Eloise has loved this inn for as long as she can remember. She wants nothing more than to own it, but she's had some missteps in her past that has made her parents reluctant to pass over the inn to her, and on one very drunken night, she accidentally gets married to Desper in Vegas. So now she has to fake date her husband to make it seem like they didn't just get married on a whim, and she's not a very impulsive and irresponsible person that cannot take care of this inn. And Desper, he's been married before and does not want to ruin his relationship with Eloise, and it's a very interesting and well put together a fake dating story, fake marriage of convenience, however you want to call it. But oh my god, was it so good. The way that these two characters fell in love with each other even though they didn't want to was literally everything that I could have asked for in a marriage of convenience, fake dating situation, and I loved it so much. Daphne Perry has a way of writing these stories that makes them feel so real, and these characters pop off the page, and that was especially apparent in Desper Veil. I loved it so much. I need to finish up the series, but this one definitely holds a special place in my heart. I have a few more books that I want to talk about in tandem because I did read both of them and loved both of them, and that is Mile High and The Right Move by Miss Liz Tomford. Now, we did read these ones for the Swoony Readers book club, so that is the reason why I read them, and I love them so much. As you can see, they are tabbed to high heaven. I love a good tab in a book, and these two books just did something to my soul. I love them so much. Granted, I really loved Mile High, but The Right Move definitely takes the cake for the better one of the two, but oh my god, they are both just so good. They are both sports romances, although they do follow different sports. Mile High is a hockey romance between Xanders, who is one of the hockey players, and Stevie, and she is a flight attendant on the private jet that takes the players to and from their games. It is a forbidden romance because they do have a non-fraternization clause between the players and the flight attendants, but the two of them just have this connection that cannot be denied, and it is absolutely beautiful. I love the topics and conversations that were had in this book, and I loved it so much. That being said, The Right Move definitely takes the cake for the one that I love the most. This is a forced proximity, best friend's brother, fake dating, basketball romance. Literally, what else could you throw in this book that would make it what it is? Nothing, because it's perfection just how it is, and it's so freaking good. This one follows Stevie's brother, Ryan Shea, and Stevie's best friend, Indy. She also worked on the same flight that Stevie worked on. She ends up being Ryan's roommate because she's just recently been cheated on by her ex-boyfriend, and she ends up needing a place to stay. Ryan reluctantly offers her a space, even though he's very private about the place that he lives and wants to be by himself, but the two of them just work so well together. They become really good friends while in the midst of fake dating. Ryan needs to show his coach that he is able to be responsible in a relationship with a long-term person, and Indy is really just wants to find somebody that makes her happy, and so they end up being in this fake dating relationship that just becomes so much more. Ryan, literally, this man is the epitome of what I love in a book boyfriend. He is perfect, he's perfection, he is everything and more, and I loved Ryan Shea so much. The two of them together just worked so well, and I'm so glad that we picked this one up for the book club because it's become one of my new favorites. Another series that we have to talk about in tandem that I read all the way up until the end of last year, and of course it could not be talked about. I literally had to do it, and that is of course the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I did finally read the last 3 books in the series that I had not yet read, and that is the Tandem, Tower of Dawn, and Empire of Storms, and then the last book in the series, Kingdom of Ash. And I could have pulled the whole series. I did read the entire series last year, but these were the 3 that really have been sticking in my mind over the last couple of months because these books just left such a lasting impact on me. I love the Throne of Glass series so much. It has quickly become my favorite Sarah J. Maas series that she has written, and I just love these characters to the ends of the earth. They have gone through hell and back to get to where they were by the end of the series, and it was just so well written, well plotted, well done in and of itself. Like, literally, there are very few people that could write a series like this and make it make sense the way that Sarah J. Maas did it. I feel kind of tainted in the Sarah J. Maas energy that I have right now because I didn't end up loving her newest release, but these books, they did the damn thing, and they did the damn thing well. So I'm so glad that I read them. They are literally my Roman Empire. I think about them constantly, all the time. The emotions, the absolute devastation that I felt towards the end of the series, and the absolute hope and joy that I felt as well is unmatched, and I cannot wait to start my reread and do it all over again. And finally, we're going to jump into the stack of books that I have read this year and absolutely loved. The first one that I'm going to talk about is actually a book that I read last year and then continue on with the series this year, so I felt like they had to go together. And I read this one in December, so it doesn't feel like it was that far off from 2024, if you know what I mean. But that is, of course, Whispers of You and Echoes of You by Catherine Cowles. Oh my god. Oh my god. What did she do in these books? Because honestly, they are so good. I was a little afraid to pick up Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles because I have read 2 books by this author. One I gave 5 stars, one I gave 3 stars, and I did not know if I was going to like the next book that I picked up by her, but this one absolutely knocks it out of the park. This one follows Holt and Wren, and they have a very tumultuous past. They were dating when they were much younger in high school, and something very, very, very tragic happens to Wren, and Holt finds himself blaming himself for the actions that happened to Wren, and after she is released from the hospital, he leaves. He up and leaves. He can't do it anymore. And it's many, many years later, he's coming back into this town because his dad has been in an accident or has a heart attack. I can't remember which one it is, but he needs to come back to take care of his family, and he ends up running back into Wren, and it is the relationship between the two of them. So it's a second chance, romantic suspense, romance, and oh my god, it was so good. It was so angsty, it was so sexy, it was so heartfelt. I cried, I laughed, I literally sobbed at the end of this book, and I just loved it. I loved it so freaking much. Nikki recently just texted me saying that she read this one and loved it as well, so it's not just me, it's so good. And then because I loved it so much, I had to pick up the second book in the series, Echoes of You. Echoes of You follows Nash and Maddie. This is a friends to lovers, very much protective hero, romantic suspense, romance, and it was beautiful. This one follows Maddie when she comes back into her hometown where she had lived for many years after being away because she has had a very traumatic thing happen to her with an ex of hers. And so she comes back to her town to the man that she has always known to protect her, and that is of course Nash, her best friend, who she's had a wonderful relationship up until she moved away. And they have always been close, but definitely estranged because she just had some circumstances that didn't allow her to further that relationship. But now that she's back, he wants to do nothing but protect her, and they end up becoming even closer than before, and of course start a relationship, and it's just so god, this is so good. It does have trigger warnings though, so make sure you check them before jumping into the series as a whole. But oh my god, I loved it. I didn't love it as much as the first book, but still ended up being a 4.5, and I just had such a great time with it. I have to talk about this one. I finally finished the Cat and Mouse Duet by, of course, H.D. Carlton, the second book in the duet, and wow. First of all, let me say I didn't give this one a full 5 stars just because it does have some things in here that personally trigger me, and it's definitely a dark book, so check those triggers before ever picking up this series. But I will say, as much as the triggers took over a lot of this book, H.D. Carlton still managed to write a very beautiful, absolutely wonderful, heartwarming, heartbreaking romance that felt so emotionally draining but also so rewarding. The Cat and Mouse Duet is a stalker dark romance between Zaid and Adeline, and in the first book it is very much following a stalker romance, but the second book definitely takes a turn, a much darker turn, even darker than the first book, which is dark to begin with. Overall, it was just so good. I loved it so much, and I had such a great time with the series as a whole. It was definitely dark, and I when I say I had a good time, it's as much of a good time as you can have with as many dark subject matters as in this book, but overall, it did it for me. I enjoyed it. I cannot wait to read more H.D. Carlton in the future, and I'm very excited to read Where's Molly. Okay, I have another one that I read the first book last year, but then read the second book literally yesterday, and I have to talk about it. And that is Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton and Tempt Our Fate by Kat Singleton. The first 2 books in the Sutton Mountain series. These are the only 2 books that are currently published in this series, but oh my god, I love them so much. So Rewrite Our Story I gave 4.5, but I just read Tempt Our Fate and I gave it 5 stars. I loved it so freaking much. Rewrite Our Story follows Cade and Mare. Cade and Mare were definitely really good friends growing up in this small town, and then their relationship progressed as teenagers and became somewhat of a secret romance. Cade is Mare's best friend's brother, and so it definitely was like a secret forbidden relationship, and things kind of hit the fan at the end of her high school years, and she moves away and goes into the big city to become an author, and ends up coming back to this small town many years later after the passing of Cade's mother. And she is there because Mare's best friend has called her. Pippa has called and said, I need you back home. So of course she comes running, and she ends up having to spend time with Cade. And it is a second chance romance, but it's also a hate to love because they have a lot of animosity towards each other and end up coming back to each other to find their way back home and rewrite their story. It's so good. The only reason why I didn't give this one a full 5 stars is I just didn't connect with the characters at the very beginning as much as I would have wanted to, but by the end I was absolutely obsessed and so compelled by this story. I just fell in love with it. I cried, I laughed, I had such a good time with this book, and I loved it so much. But then I went and picked up Tempt Our Fate, and oh my god, oh my god. Okay, this one follows Camden and Pippa, and Camden and Pippa actually meet in the very first book when they have a very messy introduction. Basically, when they first meet, Pippa ends up spilling a drink on Camden's very expensive suit. He's a billionaire and he has a lot of money and he spends a lot of money on his clothes, and she ruins his suit. The second time they meet was at Camden's best friend's wedding that Pippa is catering because she owns a bakery and she did the cake and the cupcakes for the wedding. And when they meet again, she spills all the cupcakes on Camden's brand new suit. So they have very, interesting relations at the very beginning. And the third time they meet is when Camden is buying the space right next to Pippa's bakery that she has been so interested in buying to expand her restaurant, and they already have an upset relationship, and this only brings things to a head. However, they make a deal. Camden is in a bind and needs Pippa to cater an event at the gallery, but she only agrees if Camden allows her to take him out on a day to visit Sutton Mountain and get him to fall in love with the town that she loves and adores so much. During that time, Pippa sees a different side of Camden, and Camden sees a different side of Pippa, and their hate relationship turns a little bit more into love. And it's so good. It's so angsty, it's hot, it's sexy. This man, the way this man talked to me, not to her, to me, made me want to die. And it was just so freaking good. I loved it so much. It was very emotional per usual because Pippa is still dealing with the grief of losing her mother, but it also was just hot, sexy, angsty. Overall, it was just such a great romance, and I cannot wait to read more books in the series. Then we have another Abby Jimenez, and that is The Friend Zone. This is the first book in the Friend Zone series. This one follows Kristen and Josh. And again, these two do not meet in the best of circumstances. They get into a fender bender and don't have the best experience during that time. They are both kind of rude to each other, standoffish, and when they meet again for the second time, they realize that they are going to have to spend a lot more time together than originally planned. Basically, Josh is moving to California to become a firefighter with his best friend, so they both have to work together to plan this wedding. And Josh has an undeniable connection to Kristen. He thinks that she is just so freaking beautiful and wants to be around her and wants to date her. But Kristen is currently in a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend who is in the army, and so they don't have a lot of communication. They don't see each other very often, but the relationship is not great. However, Josh is determined to just be her friend. He just wants to be around her. He wants to spend time with her, and so they decide to just be friends. And of course, it turned into more. Oh my god, I loved it. 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 Abby Jimenez does the damn thing every single time. Did this book absolutely break my heart? Yes. Yes, it did. Thank you for that. There were tears everywhere, but it was also so beautiful. It was so heartwarming. It was so gorgeous. The friends to lovers relationship between the two of them was absolutely top tier. And the way that I need to pick up book 2 is absolutely criminal. We have another Lucy Score book that I need to talk about, and that is Forever Never, and I love this book so much. This is another small town, enemies to lovers, second chance, romantic suspense book, and she did the damn thing. I feel like I can't really explain the absolute gravitas of the drama that is about to unfold unless I read the tagline, and it says, "You don't fall for your brother's high school sweetheart, your boss's daughter, or your ex-wife's best friend, especially when they're the same person." This is a romance between Brick and Remy. Of course, they've had a fling when Remy was a teenager. There is a little bit of an age gap here, and so there was definitely some unrequited feelings that never quite got returned in the way that Remy had wanted. She moves away, and she becomes this big hotshot artist and ends up coming back into town after some interesting circumstances happen in the town that she was living in. And Brick doesn't want to protect her, he doesn't want to be around her, but somehow Remy keeps finding herself in situations where Brick needs to come in and save her and sweep her off her feet, and it is getting so annoying for him. But unfortunately, the annoyance turned into something a little bit more, and those unrequited feelings from the past are drudged back up, and it is a relationship between the two of them. It's so good. It's so good. Lucy Score did it again, another 5-star from me, and I loved it so much. Okay, the second to last book that I want to talk about is a book that I never expected to pick up. I picked it up on a whim, and I'm so glad that I did because it is a novella that I just love so much, and that is Caution and Love by Kay Rodriguez. This is a short novella. It is a gym romance with a plus-size main character with Latinx representation, and I just loved it so much. This one follows Chase and Izzy. Izzy is heading back to her family home to stay there for a while to get her feet under her after she kicks her cheating boyfriend to the curb, and Chase is working as a veterinary assistant and going to the gym to blow off steam from the tumultuous relationship that he has with his alcoholic mother. And after Izzy's mom decides to help her get out of the house, get out of the funk that she's in, she convinces her to head to the gym with them and just get her mind off of everything. While she's at the gym, she ends up getting on the treadmill and meeting eyes with this very sexy, hot, blonde, buff guy, and she trips and falls on her face in front of him, and he sweeps in to save the day. And it's a relationship between the two of them. It is a novella, so I don't want to say too much more because I feel like I gave a lot away, but it was just so good. It was so good. It was so spicy. It was so sexy. It was so sweet. We have a beautiful, wonderful cinnamon roll character that will do anything for Izzy, and Izzy just wants to help Chase find out that he has so much more to offer than just being a babysitter for his mom. And it was just, it was cute. It was gorgeous. It was wonderful. I cannot wait to read more from this author in the future. And the last and final book that I want to talk about is a book that is a second book in a series. The first book I loved so much, and the second book I loved, I think, even more. And that is The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer, the second book in the Queen's Cove series. This is another small town romance series, and I loved this book so much. This book follows Hannah and Wyatt, and Hannah is in her 30s. She's running the small town bookstore that her mom brought into fruition, and her mom has passed away. She's been gone for several years, but Hannah is really trying to keep the bookstore alive and honor her memory. But she realizes that she spent so much time trying to honor her mom's memory that she has lost a lot of her life, and so she wants to be a hot girl. She is determined to change a little bit about herself to feel more confident in who she is. So she goes to Wyatt, who is this really awesome, sweet, cute surfer guy that just, he gives off hot guy energy. And she's like, teach me how to be a hot girl. And she says, if you teach me how to be a hot girl, I'll run your social media to help you get sponsors so that you can go out and be this famous surfer. And so they'd come to an agreement, and they spend a lot of time together. They end up cultivating a bit of a friendship that turned into more, and it was just so good. It was so good. I literally, there's a scene in here that I laughed my ass off. I was cackling out loud because it was so freaking funny, and I just had a great time with this book. From start to finish, it really just did what it was supposed to do. It hit. I loved Wyatt so much. He was just so attentive to Hannah and her needs, and helping her come to terms with the fact that she as an individual was already perfect to begin with. She just needed to build her self-confidence and learn to love herself. as she was. And I loved it. I loved it. It was so beautiful. It was so sweet. It was so good. I feel like that's all I'm saying about these. They were so beautiful. They were so sweet. They were so good, but they were, all of them. They were all just so good, and this is no exception. I had so much fun with it. I cannot wait to reread it and then move on with the rest of the series. Okay, that is all of the books that I wanted to talk about today. This video ended up being so much longer than I had expected because I just wanted to gush. I wanted to gush about all of the things that make me so happy, and that is reading books that just do the damn thing. And all of these books did that. And I would love to hear any of your thoughts down below on the books that I talked about today. Have you read any of them? What did you think of them? Did you love them as much as me? Also, feel free to share with me the books that you are currently obsessed with, books you cannot stop thinking about. I am always looking for more recommendations down in the comments below. That is the end of this video, though. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a sparkle emoji. If you don't have anything else to comment, the emoji will be great. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Baby, turn it down.